So this report is about the Christmas Day bombing attempt by a lone terrorist. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to read most of this report. I won't be able to extemporize, but the subject is so important, I think most of you will bear with me. So we know that a Nigerian man tried to blow up a Detroit-bound flight on Christmas Day. The young man's name is Umar Farouk Abdul Muttalib. Because the name was misspelled by a bureaucrat at Homeland Security, his name was not on the no-fly list. As amazing as this is, and as amazing as it seems, it is the truth. And it brings out the essential folly of most of our Homeland Security measures. There is no way to stop a lone terrorist from attacking the United States. There are too many flights, too few security personnel, and far too many options to achieve that or a similar result with Al-Qaeda's network around the world. We should do every reasonable thing to ensure our passengers' safety. But spending countless billions fighting wars in Iraq and Afghanistan will not stop the terrorists, but it will bankrupt the United States government. And that was and is Osama bin Laden's stated goal. In 2004, many of you will recall, he made a statement just 3 or 4 days before the U.S. election, and he stated clearly that his intention was to bankrupt the United States government, to bleed the United States government into oblivion. He knows full well that if the United States goes bankrupt, the United States then has the most deleterious result from a relatively low cost of this terrorist activity. That statement, no doubt, brought us another 4 years of George W. Bush. In fact, George W. Bush and John Kerry point to that statement as being pivotal in the 2004 election. The security of the U.S. and its people does not depend on sending troops around the world. It depends on our ability to use our intelligence community and its resources effectively. Find out where these terrorists are. This is extremely important. We're fighting in Afghanistan and Iraq. This terrorist came from Yemen. Once we find them, root them out. It's basically an intelligence effort. It's not about sending generals and thousands of troops across Afghanistan and Iraq. I do believe that one of our problems is that the Muslims around the world watch the news, watch the tapes on the news, and see American bombs and soldiers killing Muslims. It looks like a modern-day crusade by the United States. And when they see all these Muslims being killed, they are beginning to hate the United States. The simple fact of the matter is, Al-Qaeda kills more Muslims than the United States. And if they begin to see that Al-Qaeda is the enemy and not the United States, we could turn this around. I also believe that we should be very focused on the end game of Al-Qaeda that I referred to earlier. Their end game is not to win a war against the United States. They won't win a war against the United States. They want to destroy us by allowing us to destroy ourselves. And how do we destroy ourselves? By spending billions and billions of dollars looking for one lone terrorist. It simply won't work. It hasn't worked, and it will not work. Now, as we spend these billions of dollars, we talk in the Congress and the Senate about having enough money for universal health care for our citizens. Does anybody put 2 and 2 together? We're spending all the billions around the world trying to fight these terrorists that could be spent taking care of our own citizens. So we must begin by telling the real story about Al-Qaeda. To remember that the Soviet Union did go bankrupt fighting a pointless war in Afghanistan, and finally to pay close attention when a father, the father of this lone terrorist, warns us that his son has been radicalized by Muslim extremists in Yemen. He was a student there. And then learning to spell correctly, that could help a lot too. But finally, let's support our president in every way and as well as we can. Trying to blame him for political reasons is indefensible. It is indefensible to blame him for a lone terrorist attack attempt. That is indefensible, Mr. Cheney. And we should absolutely consider that every American has their responsibility in trying to prevent these attacks. And it's very inspiring to know that it's actually passengers, citizens, who stopped this terrorist attempt. So the most important thing is to fight terrorism wherever it is around the world, but not destroy ourselves in the process. I hope our government comes to this conclusion. It's the only conclusion we can reach.